We're here at the Fair Oaks Horticulture Center on a February work day. It's open garden day, too, and we're in the orchard section where the fruit trees here, the deciduous fruit trees, the plums, the apricots, the pluots, and a lot more, are basically about as tall as you. They might be 6.5, 7 feet tall. It's a beautiful sight, which means, well, there's a lot of advantages to keeping your fruit trees very short. With me is Ed Laivo. Ed Laivo has a hot YouTube page of edible solutions. Ed, first of all, tell us about your fruit-oriented YouTube page.
Well, my fruit-oriented YouTube page varies. Of course, I speak mostly of exciting varieties of fruit and just share typically with younger people, try to at least get younger people in that haven't experienced some of these exciting varieties and try to get their impressions so that people can, see for real, what's happening when somebody tastes a wonderful variety of fruit picked right off the tree.
And a lot of great how-tos as far as getting trees established.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, lots of high-density stuff now. And then just a couple of soil mixes that we're working with now. I just did a blueberry soil mix video, I think about a week ago. That's one of my more recent ones.
Now, I mentioned that the fruit trees here, the deciduous fruit trees here in the orchard at the Fair Oaks Horticulture Center are kept very, very short for a lot of good reasons. And Ed is one of the instigators of what he likes to call backyard orchard culture, keeping your fruit trees short. What is the advantage of keeping deciduous fruit trees at a height that are no taller than you can reach?
Well, primarily maintenance, Fred. The idea of having to take and maintain a tree that's, let's say, even over 10 feet tall, which is the typical height of a single-story home, it's almost not doable anymore given the lot sizes that most modern homes have. And so, keeping a fruit tree at, well, we used to say 7 to 8 feet, but now my colleagues and I are all agree that because of the lot sizes, just because of the idea that we can do some covering techniques to lessen our use of pesticides, we want to say 5 to 6 feet.
5 to 6 feet tall fruit trees. And how wide are those trees?
They can be as wide, pruning is a marvelous tool. They can be as wide as you want them to be. To be exact, I just posted a project that I'm doing with my nephew up in Napa who it said, hey, listen, Uncle, you have done a situation like mine and I want to plant fruit trees in my yard. And I told him no, because it's right by his pool. But he said, well, you had fruit trees by your pool. And he's got a new baby and they want to have fresh fruit for their baby. So we're going to be doing that. And that's an aggressive size control where we'll keep those trees below 6 feet tall.
That's great. And that also means, too, if you control the width, you can get a lot more fruit trees into your own backyard.
Oh, without a doubt. And, one of the best ways to experience controlling the width is a 3-in-1 hole when you're doing high-density planting, because then you have to control the width because your outside parameter of your tree is one of 3 different canopies. And so you're giving each one of those canopies a third of the space.
Now, we're talking about deciduous fruit trees here. Citrus is a different story, or is it?
It's not at all. Citrus does multiple plantings, high-density planting very well. Citrus makes a wonderful hedgerow. Maybe one of my first experiences with citrus was growing it as a hedgerow and pruning it almost like a hedgerow and with trees no more than 3 to 4 foot on center.
All right. And here at the Fair Oaks Hort Center, if you go up to where the citrus row is, those trees are no taller than I can reach.
No taller. And also they're roughly about 5 to 6 feet on center as well. And before they were pruned aggressively. Anyways, they actually were a hedgerow. It was a nice, beautiful, solid hedgerow. And I think I have pictures of that, on my social media pages as well.
All right. You mentioned 3-in-1. People are wondering now, okay, what, you really plant 3 trees in one hole? Just how big is this hole? How deep is the hole? How wide is the hole?
Just as if you were digging one hole, but you're accommodating 3 trees into that one planting. So we'll be doing it here this morning. We'll be planting a 3-in-1 planting where one of the primary goals with 3-in-1 is take that limited space that you have and then plant successive ripening varieties, variety that ripens early, mid-season, and late, and enjoy fruit out of that one space that you would typically have one tree, enjoy fruit all season long.
I'll ask the question again. How wide is this hole?
Oh, shoot. It's probably, I don't know, this wide. What's that, 4 feet?
That's more like 3 feet.
Okay, 3 feet wide. Because you're putting, for the centuries, you're putting them roughly about 24 inches on center. I do 12 inches on center. I think this one we're going to do 24 inches on center, mainly because I find that with the 24 inches on center 3-in-1s, you can get right in the center of them. You can work from the center of the tree easily. So I like that center access. That's been fun. And I've made a lot of adjustments through the years. Fred, I mean, when I first started, with backyard orchard culture, it was a test going on everywhere. And now, we've refined it down to this is the way you do it. And I love 3-in-1 holes. I'm not as big on 4-in-1 hole unless you're an advanced gardener and you really understand what the requirements are.
I think the key with 3 fruit trees in 1 hole is pruning correctly.
Correct. It is. And summer pruning is absolutely necessary. And so, you've got an early prune that you have to do every year, and you've got a later prune in the summer. So you're going to do 2 prunings in the summer to keep your canopies open, balanced, with good air circulation, good sunlight penetration.
So that would mean basically cleaning out the center so the production growth on each of those 3 trees is growing outwards.
Correctly. Yeah, correct. And then you were concerned about, the width. Well, the width to me is the balance. That's the aesthetics. So the aesthetics are totally under your control, especially once you start working with your tree. It becomes your personal, adventure where you're designing it, and you definitely don't want this one to be lopsided and that one not to be. So you just prune it, and you realize that pruning doesn't cause, all kinds of problems with your tree. Pruning is a good thing.
And I guess for the home gardener, it'd be a little cheaper too, because you can buy multi-grafted fruit trees, which are very expensive. Whereas if you get 3 single varieties, that might be less money.
Well, yeah. I think, some of the requirements for maintaining a multiple budded tree versus a 3-in-1 whole tree, they're almost exactly the same. But I think the difference between them is if I'm going to plant 3 trees in 1 hole, I'm going to pick the varieties. And so if you're going to go buy a multiple budded tree, you're going to have to be satisfied with the varieties that are on there. Now, mind you, they're typically very popular varieties. They're typically varieties that will complement each other, like as pollinators and such. But I'd rather, the oddball varieties we're planting today are cool varieties. But I guarantee you, only one of them anybody's ever heard of.
Well, what are they?
Well, we've got Candy Heart Plueri.
Candy Heart.
Candy Heart.
Oh, Candy Heart.
Candy Heart Plueri.
I have a Candy Heart.
Oh, good. Yeah, great variety. Yeah. So we got one of those. We have a Leocott, which is an apium. And that's a wonderful, to be exact, we had content creators come in from all over the state down at Zager's this last year. And Leocott was one of the most popular of all the varieties that everybody tasted. And Leocott's been around for quite a while.
As word of explanation, Zager refers to Zager Genetics that did a lot of the development of a lot of the varieties that are now on the market, especially for things like Pluots. And Leah, I believe, is one of Floyd Zager's daughters.
It is, yes.
All right. And then they're still in the business.
It's Leith.
Leith. Yes, that's right. Yes.
Leith. Yeah, Leith is. Yeah. And you know what? To tell you the truth, I don't know if Leocott is actually named after Leith, but
go with it. It's a good story.
It is a good story. I'll go with it. But it's a great apium.
Hello, free subscribers. Welcome again to the podcast paywall. There's a lot more information here about backyard orchard culture, but it's just for paid subscribers. We talk about the most difficult task and yet the most essential task for gardeners who are planting a new fruit tree, but actually it's one of the easiest tasks to do. We have a warning about pruning multi-budded fruit trees. That would be the 3-in-1s or the 4-in-1s that you might see at some nursery. Also, we talk about an excellent peach variety, and it's a taste test winner for the backyard garden. We also talk about how to reduce the size of an overgrown fruit tree, and we'll have a video for it as well. Paid subscribers have access to a lot more, including an accurate transcript of today's podcast, which includes links to more information about what we discussed. Paid subscribers also get, besides the Friday publication, an extra newsletter each week with more garden tips for success. For example, a recent paid-only bonus edition included information about how to increase your chances of success growing an avocado tree or 2. And paid subscribers also have access to previous editions of the Beyond the Garden Basics newsletter, and they get priority in getting garden questions answered as well. Beyond the Garden Basics subscriptions are reasonably priced, just $5 a month or $50 a year. And your support helps keep the newsletter and podcast alive. And by the way, it helps keep me alive too. I appreciate your eyes and ears on the Beyond the Garden Basics newsletter and podcast. You can find it all on Substack.com. Thank you very much.